And finally, let's take a look at objective KPIs. And I'm back in Dashboard Designer, and in my KPI folder, I'm going to right-click New, and I'm going to go KPI. And first off, we're going to create a couple blank KPIs so that we can roll them up into objective KPI. An objective KPI is the type of thing we do in like Six Sigma, where we take underlying blank KPIs or leaves and then start the roll up through a tree. So we'll do a blank KPI, and I'll say OK in here, and let's go in and do a data mapping, and we'll change the source, and we'll go into our cube. Now we're going to come in here and we're going to select a measure in here, and let's take over here sales quantity, and we're going to take that, and we're just going to say OK, and now we've got a sales quantity. And I'm back over here looking at my cube, and I'm looking at sales quantity, and that looks like 53 million to me. So let's switch back over to our blank KPI, and we're going to go in here fixed values, and we're going to change this down here to be 60 million. And we'll say OK, and just to make sure that we've got something in there, let's go through and create a scorecard. I better come back over to this KPI, and this is sales quantity. Let's give it a new name. So that we can identify it. And the display folders, KPIs, is fine. Again, I'm going to put it in my leaf. All right, now let's switch back down here to scorecards. We'll go ahead and we're going to create a new scorecard. And we're going to come in here and analysis services is fine, and it really doesn't matter here, blank scorecard, etc., because I'm not going to apply any filters at this time to the scorecard. So say OK, and we'll do this connection, and now import, and again we get the stupid error, ignore it. So we'll go select KPI, and if I slide this on across, what I did was here I've got sales quantity. You'll notice the uppercase A because I'm an idiot. And we'll say OK. And we'll come in here at next. And I'm not going to put any filters in there at this time. All right, and there's my sales quantity. All right, and as this is irritating, let me go back through and do this. Go back over to properties and change this name to sales quantity. And now let me go through and save it. All right. Now, just for demonstration purposes, oh, that's right. I got to do that here too. This is irritating. It's saved in two different locations. Ooh, I think I got that. Whatever. No big thing. So I'm going to select this up in here. I'm going to copy this KPI just to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take leaf up here, and now I'm going to right click and I'm going to go paste. And now see it says sales quantity copy of this KPI. But that's really not what we want, but let's go in and take a look at it. I just wanted to show you I can do that. So now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change this KPI. Instead of doing sales quantity, let's come in here and look at sales return quantity. And I'll say OK. And I'm not going to put any filters in there again. So now I've got sales return quantity. Let's switch back over and see what that value should be. So now we'll come in here. Here's sales return quantity. I'm going to add it to query. And this is, looks like, let's see. Pick up that number. Okay, it looks like 493,000. Let's go in and see if that is. So we'll set that to 40,000. So I'm going to change this fixed value up here to 40,000. And that sounds okay. And again, we're going to go in here, down here to new scorecard. And now we're going to come in and we're going to add that in here so I can see it displayed. So I'm here, KPIs. There's my leaf. There's sales quantity copy. That's a screw up. Back over to sales quantity copy. Go in here, and this is sales. So she'll pick all these changes up for you. Sales return. Quantity, sounds fine. Over to the editor tab, sales return quantity, back down to new scorecard. And now let's expand this out, expand out KPIs, expand out leaf, And now I've got sales return quantity. Again, I'm going to drag this over and create it as a sibling. Move that up until she pops up. And I'll call update. And here's my return. So I'm green on that and yellow on this, right? So now we've got two KPIs up here. Let's just change the name of this scorecard. And I'm going to call this sales quantity in return quantity. Just to have it, display folder. I'm going to browse on in, you see if I want to put it. So again, we're going to put it in a leaf, and that's fine. And now she's moved over here into the sales quantity and return quantity. Now let's go through and create a objective KPI. So we're going to go KPI over in here. I'm going to right click here. I'm going to go new KPI, and this time we're going to select an objective. Okay. Now notice everything in here. Notice the calculation says no value down in here. So if I come back over and let's name this right now. Let's just take care of the properties, and I'm going to name this objective. Here I would normally put in some kind of a description down here talking about their management strategy, etc. And we're going to put this into the KPI folder, but under KPI we're going to create a new one, and we're going to call this objective. And we'll call it okay. And you would put your management strategy in here for this objective KPI, so that when you came through and created a KPI report, we would be able to, the person that was using this objective KPI would be able to come through and understand it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead while I'm in there. I'm going to save everything just so I have all that. And now we've got it all saved, and now you see it all shows down here in the workspace. But if I come back over, let's continue on. Now we're going to create a scorecard, and then we'll go back and use our objective KPI. New scorecard, and analysis services is fine. Again, I could do a standard because I'm not going to really use the feature of analysis services, but we're just going to continue on through and use what I want. Next down here, and I'm going to skip right through this to show you something else. And now I could go add a KPI, and I could come in at this time and add it on in. So if I could add KPI, see she's pulling all this in from the cube. And now if I delete that KPI, or I can click select KPI, and at this time I could go in and select it, and we'll select our objective KPI. Just again, another way of doing this. I could also have dragged and dropped it into the scorecard. But we'll come through, no filters. We're not into the filters yet, and we'll say finish. And now I've got my objective KPI. Actual and target is nothing, and if I call update, there is no update in here. So now, how does this work? Well, let's expand out the KPIs, and here's our leaf KPIs. And remember, we created the quantity and the return quantity. Okay, now this gets a little sensitive. We're going to drag and drop onto our new scorecard, onto our objective KPI, these other KPIs. So I'm going to take sales quantity. Before we were looking for siblings, but now we want to come through and look for child. So if I move up in here, and there she is, last child, we see that. We're going to just drop that. Now I have sales quantity. I know that it is a child of objective because I've got the little negative sign, which I can expand on out. Now I'm going to take sales return quantity, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this on up, and I can drop that in. Now I've got sales return quantity, and I can shrink them on up. Now I'll call update, and I've got my update down here, and you notice the objective KPI now has a green indicator for target as she rolled these on through. Okay, now you're going to see the objective KPI work, because here my objective KPI is sales quantity and sales return quantity, and the idea is to weight the different descendant children. So right now I've got sales quantity in there at yellow and returns at green, and as you can see, of course it's green 34%. I screwed that up again. By the way, that's why you go through and add these things in, so you can make sure you're getting the right numbers when you come back there. So you create them, add them into a scorecard, and check it on out. But let's fix this. Now I'm going to select this KPI. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go into KPI settings. Now here's the weight of the KPI settings, and we're going to change it to 10 just to give it a large weight, and we're going to say OK. See this turn down here into the yellow range because she rolls on up based on the underlying weight. And there's your objective KPI rolling up.